Welcome to QualityShot Football and the third edition of the podcast. We have a full house. We've got myself, Ash and Suf, who've been on before, but also Josh as well. Now, you might find his voice pretty familiar, considering that he does commentary for the BBC and Talk Sports. So if you do, you might be thinking, oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a familiar voice. So I've got him on as well, which will be fantastic to get his opinions on, of course, everything football. Ash and myself, of course, Chelsea supporters, South Liverpool, and Josh, Manchester United. So that will be it'll be a fun podcast, I'm sure. So we're going to talk about an array of topics as always, but yeah, Champions League semi-finals, previewing those is, I guess, one of the biggest topics coming up in the next, well, not less than a week now as well, so just a few days. And then, of course, we'll round up some of the Premier League action, FA Cup as well. Semi-finals just happened as well only a couple of days ago. And, you know, not too long ago, Manchester United just announcing Ten Hag as their permanent manager. So we can get into that and maybe some other bits and bobs as well. Before we do, Ash, Saf, Josh, all okay? All good?
Yeah, well, thanks. Well,
doing well. Thanks for that.
Yeah, of course, Saf's doing well. A smug look on his face. He's like, the quadruples on.
Exactly. There's still a chance there. Still a chance
exactly. Still a chance. Exactly. Crazy. I guess first of all, then let's. I think the Champions League semi-final preview we can do last, and that'll be a meaty one as well. But let's get into some of the results. So I think first of all, I can start off with Chelsea, get that out of the way, just whatever. But yeah, so for us, FA Cup beating Crystal Palace, solid result. Of course, we'll face the old nemesis Liverpool after losing to them on penalties in the League Cup earlier in the year. I think it's the first time for quite a long time that the same two teams have played in both cup finals. So that's quite an interesting one. And Liverpool and Chelsea, they've met a lot of times, but we seem to have slight upper hand in FA Cup finals, and we just tend to perform pretty well in FA Cup finals. I'm hoping that we do the same, but given how Liverpool are playing at the moment, you just never know. But then we just thought, okay, well, we'll just gift Arsenal a win after they're chasing top four. So very, very contrasting results, and obviously getting smashed by Brentford, then almost getting there to Real Madrid. So it's been a roller coaster couple of weeks for Chelsea, but I'm happy we made the FA Cup final at least. Ash, were you happy with their performance against Palace? And then also, I mean, Arsenal is a bit of a disappointing one, but I guess we've already secured top fours. It's not too much of an issue, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those performances you sometimes get at the end of the season when kind of injuries have caught up and there are other things on the plate, notably for us with the FA Cup. And I think Tuchel's team selection showed that. It was a real mismatch sort of a team, which is, I mean, it's still capable of beating Arsenal, but it was really not a good performance, conceding 4 at home again to a very weak Arsenal team, in my opinion. Is really not good. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think we are still in a good position to get top 4, and got the job done against Palace, which was important. I mean, in those sorts of matches, I don't think we played particularly well, but at the end of the day, you just got to make it to the final, and we did that. So a strange week, but I wouldn't really read too much into it.
Yeah, it's funny because at one point it was like, oh, we're in 3 competitions, something could happen, but now we've just got the FA Cup, so hopefully we get some type of silverware that's going to look like a pretty poor season overall, given Chelsea standards, I guess, recently. But yeah, it's also one of the easiest runs, I think, ever, the FA Cup run that Chelsea have had. I don't think we faced anyone really of kind of great standard, to be perfectly honest with you. So thanks Middlesbrough for knocking out some notable opponents in, I think it is Tottenham and Manchester United. So thank you for that, Middlesbrough. And then I guess other results. I guess we can get on to it then. So Manchester United, Liverpool. 9-0 aggregate, and I was watching it and I was thinking, oh my god, this is absolute carnage going on at the moment. I mean, it just looked like, I think Mo Salah actually said after that, it was almost like he didn't say it was too easy, but he just said they almost were gifting us the goals. Like it was just, it was comfortable almost in the end. And it was just, I just couldn't believe it, to be perfectly honest with you. I know Liverpool at home, but it was crazy. Josh, I'm sure you've got a lot to talk about on it. So before we get on to it, so from a Liverpool point of view, how happy were you with it? Or was it just like you're flogging a dead horse at this point because the gap's so big, it seems, between the two teams? And then also, are you ready to, how hyped are you, and how realistic do you think it is for you guys to start getting the quadruple? Because Man City, to be fair, they did the business. They're still in front, right? So, but the other three, well, you've got one in the bag, 2 other competitions to go. How are you feeling?
Good questions. With regards to the United game, I think there was some positive moments to take out of that. I think mainly around how well the team played. I think Thiago was exceptional, and is sort of over the last 3 months has really started to show what, the reason why he was brought to Anfield, and just more so Mane in the number 9 role. That was something that was interesting to see, particularly when Diaz came in and him sort of shifting to that number 9 role, which typically has been given to either Firmino or Jota. But him doing such a great job in it, it just was really pleasing to see it, that level of performance at this time of the season. You could argue that ahead of that United game, we'd kind of just gone through games, ground out results, 2-1s here, 1-0s there, just getting the job done, but not playing to the standard that we would expect or we've come to expect of Liverpool, particularly under Klopp. So getting a result like that, I think was great to see. I think back to the Benfica games in the Champions League, we did well away from home. Then they came to Anfield and it was just like, what's going on here? We're getting through, but we're just not playing the way we normally do. So that was the positive I took out of the game. But in all honesty, I think United are just in a really, really bad place at the moment. So it's not a result that you walk away thinking, oh, that's an exceptional performance against a top quality, opponent. We've known for a while United have had challenges, have had issues. The dressing room, that looks like there's issues there. Everyone knows it's an interim manager. Some players, their heads are out the door. So positives to take, but at the same time, not trying to get too excited about it. With regards to the quadruple, I'll just go with the standard Liverpool line, which is we take each game as it comes. I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about it. But it's such a huge challenge to win all four trophies. You're playing Chelsea in the FA Cup final, a team which over the last 2 decades has had a lot of success in that competition, and will definitely be out there for revenge, given what happened in the Carabao Cup final. They want to, prove that they, and get some silverware. Prove that result, that game could have gone either way. And then the Champions League, I think some Liverpool fans are taking Villarreal a little too lightly. Just kind of thinking, oh, we'll get to the final. But Villarreal are a very, very well-drilled side. I watched the game against Bayern, the second leg, and I've seen a couple of their performances in La Liga this season, particularly a game that they played against Atletico Madrid. And they're a really well-drilled side. And they will, having gotten this far, they will give it everything. It's going to be a tough game. On paper, you could argue Liverpool have the better squad and have players that that are world class that should win you games. But it's a Champions League; anything can happen. I didn't expect them to be Bayern, but they did an exceptional job there and got through. So the Champions League is not going to be easy, and then the Premier League. It breaks my heart to say, but I just think I think City will just win the majority of their games. They'll win all their games, and I just see them beating us by a point, which will be heartbreaking. So hopefully we can do something in one of the other cups, either win the FA Cup or maybe go for the Champions League. Walk out of the season with 2, maybe 3 trophies. That would be success. That would be a really successful season. If we win the league, great, but I think the quadruple is a big ask.
Yeah, it would be a big ask, to be fair, but it's the Thiago point's really interesting. I think from a technical aspect, from what I've seen, it's just, I mean, it's what he's always had at Barcelona and Bayern, but he takes players out of the game with his passing, right? The quick passes in midfield, and then it opens up space. And as you said, Manchester United are not, at the top level, but you just saw massive gaps opening up because he just plays the ball so quickly in midfield and manages to move it so effectively. And I think it was incredible. I think looking at his stats, I think he was 96% passing accuracy for the game. Just barely loses the ball. Accuracy is phenomenal and just has a fantastic range of passing as well. So great to see someone of his quality really shining and I guess showing exactly what he's about, which is great. And quickly on the Villarreal thing, I know we'll touch upon it more a bit later in the pod, but it's really interesting. They're subsidising as well all the tickets at home for all the supporters for the Champions League game and also away, which is great to see. So I really, really respect that. And not many clubs will do that. Most clubs will kind of cash in and just say, yeah, let's get all the money we can from it. So kudos to them. Josh, over to you, Manchester United.
Where to begin?
Yeah. Were you surprised by the result? I guess is the first thing.
No, I think the most damning thing for United fans this week was when you play Liverpool, there's a special feeling when you play Liverpool that you can't compare. It's a unique game. It's the biggest rivalry. I think even the introduction of City's emphasised how much we despise Liverpool. I don't think it needs to be said. I think Sophie will agree also. But I think this week was the first time I went there with no expectations, no butterflies, no nerves. Even we've been on top, you always go to Anfield or you host Liverpool, you're in for a game. And after the Etihad performance last month, I didn't expect the team to give up again against a bigger rival. And boy, did they do that on Tuesday. And yeah, it's sad to see. I think that's the most disappointing thing is, you look at teams like Norwich and Watford, they go to Anfield. In recent weeks, Norwich took the lead there. We've got better players than those in the bottom three, and we shouldn't be going to Anfield expecting to lose 4-3. Yeah, we've had a bad season, but you spoke to any United fan with sense, they would have told you that we were not going to win that football game, and we're lucky to get a draw. I don't know where the goals are coming. I don't know how we're going to keep Liverpool out. And Steve's correct. Liverpool have been, grinding results out week in, week out. And that's one of the better performances of the night. Thiago was outstanding. Mane was sensational. Salah hasn't scored in how many games, and he picks a goal up. There was a time when Salah never used to score past Man United, and all of a sudden now he's getting goals galore. But from our perspective, we wanted the season to end for quite a while. It's kind of like a thrashing tour. We've got you guys next week, and maybe you'll beat us and get some confidence from that in terms of Chelsea next Thursday. But yeah, this season is done for us. And Arsenal, Spurs keep losing games, so it looks like we're in a battle for top four. We're never in a battle for top four. Our season really ended when we went out to Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. The players have not taken to Radnick for one reason or not. But it's disappointing. I think what's really low is you don't feel any emotion after that game. I'm sure you guys yesterday were annoyed at Chelsea's defeat to Arsenal because you shouldn't be losing to Arsenal. You're annoyed. With us, it's kind of, well, they're better than us. They're bigger than us. They've got their setup of their managers and owners, and we're just the mess that we know we are. And it's a reality check that I think we know. And in terms of the game, yeah, we look bright for 5 minutes in the second half. But that's what they can do. They open us up, and the third goal puts the game away. So yeah, very disappointing. But to be honest, we struggled against Norwich. So we are playing against a team that are going for 4 trophies, are pushing a very good Man City team to win in the league. You can only expect us to falter. Well, I don't expect us to do that, but that's where we are at the moment, unfortunately. So yeah, I think 4-0 doesn't flatter us, and it's disappointing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, I guess no Ronaldo didn't help, but in saying that, I don't know how much his impact would have affected the result. Obviously, Really sad to hear about, obviously, the kind of death of one of his newborn children as well, one of the twins. But yeah, really good gesture as well from Liverpool. I think it was the 1 minute silence or clap or applause, sorry, even at the 7 minute mark, which was great. One of the Liverpool supporters even was holding a Ronaldo shirt, which is you would never see that, I don't think. So great to see. But yeah, I mean, how much blame do you think, and is it fair, Josh? There's been a lot of blame based on Harry Maguire specifically. Is that warranted? Is it fair, or is he just being scapegoated? And actually, I think we can all agree it's a collective issue. But should there be so much emphasis on him specifically? And is it just because he's the captain and defensively they're just being so poor?
Yeah, I think at times he doesn't help himself. I think before the game he had an interview with Sky and he said, I've been picked by both managers that have been here this year. I can't think of a player who's performed in a United shirt this year. Maybe De Gea, possibly Fred. Maguire's been poor. And if you're captain of Man United and you're not performing, you shouldn't be coming out making these interviews and making these statements. I think the criticism that he gets and Paul Pogba gets kind of from the same kind of brush, where he wasn't worth 80 million. That was an error from the club to spend that money. So it was always going to be difficult for him to, live up to the heights of, say, someone like Virgil van Dijk, who went for 75 million. They're in a different world in terms of their abilities. But I don't think he's a poor defender. I think it's OTT. But the reason I compare him to Paul Pogba is because a lot of United fans look at Harry Maguire as, why is he our captain? He's rubbish. Why is he bought? He's a symbol of kind of the decline. Then there's another section of United fans who just think Paul Pogba's overrated. He's never performed. He's overpaid. He's an 89 million flop. So I think them two are quite easy targets. But at times, I think they've performed in their times at United. I don't think they've hit their heights. I don't think they've been their best. We've seen them perform better for their national sides in England and France. But they're easy targets. He stepped up for the first goal, but there's a lot of defensive issues there. There's a lot of the setup's poor. Someone like Bruno Fernandes gives the ball away every minute. He gets the ball and he hammers it, So I think it's just easy for also, not necessarily rival fans, but people outside the club to look at it. But we saw today reports of a bomb scare or someone sent him an email that there was a bomb potentially planted at his house. It's good there was nothing found. It's just a bit OT. Honestly, the club needs the season to end and for this new manager to come in and make his judgment on certain players to stay or go. I never really agreed with him being captain. I don't think he's conducted himself well, but I do also feel he's, he is targeted and he could have a good game. For example, Norwich was excellent, but no one says nothing, and he goes to Anfield, you're playing a very good, Diaz, Mane, Salah. These are players that a week ago, not only twice in a week, destroyed, Manchester City defenders who are apparently the best in there. Not apparently, but they are. If you look at the Premier League table. So you've got to look at the opposition. You've got to look at it game by game. But Maguire has struggled this season, and the criticism is definitely justified.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's interesting you said about Bruno Fernandes because he was like kind of the second coming, wasn't he? About a year ago, like he was banging in goals and assists left, right, and centre. But
yeah, I mean everybody's dropped off in the last year. I think it was when it was kind of lockdown football and he came in and we had a really good run. I think under Oli, that was probably our best time. He was sort of the saviour, but when Paul Pogba came, I think I think you've talked to any United fan, the lack of signing a defensive midfielder really, really hurt us because Bruno, he loves to risk. He loves the risk. He loves to throw a ball forward. And sometimes it pulls off and it's great. But if it doesn't, you have a turnover position. And when you haven't got that defensive midfielder to secure a already failing defence, it's gonna cause you problems. But he's an example of most players that come to United. You start well for a couple months, couple weeks, and then soon you fall into a pattern and you're struggling and it all eats you up.
Yeah, no, very well said. This is all very dour as well.
It's the signs of the times at the moment, it's you get used to it. You get used to it.
It is crazy though. I mean, it's interesting because I guess Manchester United and I know Gary Neville says it all the time, but they are. You just think about how big a club they are, and of course, there's he'll say there's failures left, right, and centre, etc. And obviously, Ragnick came in, and everyone's always going to sort it out. And obviously, you had Mourinho, and then Oli, and all these managers have come in and come and gone really, and it hasn't. Nothing's. I don't feel like Manchester United are anywhere better off since like Ferguson left, I mean, they're worse off, right? I mean, every single manager's come in. There's been peaks and troughs at times, but I just feel like it's never really had. Well, you just haven't had any stability. To be fair,
it's always gonna be difficult to replace someone who's been at a club for 27 years and be so successful as well. You know, I think the first appointment wasn't the right appointment. David Moyes, maybe him coming in and sacking his backroom staff. We can look at the last 10 years in hindsight and say this was wrong, this was not right. But I do think you're correct. It has not been stable. At times, it's been okay, like you're saying. Van Gaal hit some heights. Solskjaer definitely steadied the ship. I think Mourinho is probably the worst out of the lot in terms of the damage he did to the club and in terms of the morale of the players, and that was something that was united the fans. But you look at Liverpool; it took them 30 years to get to that place where they are now. And we're talking about quadruples, we're talking about champagne football. So I know will be around at a time where they were struggling to even finish top four. So I think it ebbs and flows. The problem for United is that you want to have that stability. You want to have that, a couple of years where, like Chelsea, for example. I think Chelsea suffered from at this season just being in their own little bubble. Being third. So you have performances like Arsenal and Brentford because you really have nothing to play for in the league. You're not going to catch up with City and Liverpool. You're not going to fall off from, going to the level of Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United. And I think that's something that United need to get to, that level of stability, so that you can look towards City and Liverpool, because we're not going to catch them in 2 to 3 years. It will take time.
Yeah, agree. I like the backhanded compliment to Liverpool as well. 30 years.
But I think Carragher makes a good point. You're never as far as you think you are. But Liverpool, everybody talks how great they are at the moment, and rightly so. They've got a great manager. They've got a great team, and it pains me to say these things, but these are the facts. It's a very very likable team. I think their first 11 is probably stronger than City's. Thiago's now stepped up. But it wasn't like that 10 years ago. They had Charlie Adam in the midfield, had Roy Hodgson. It takes time, and that's the truth. And that's not even me criticising them or making any digs towards it. But I've seen it flip very quickly, and I think Liverpool fans should be well aware, and I think they are. Not a dig at them, but they all know that United. I think even Klopp said it after the game. We'll be back, and I think that's something that Gary Neville has said in the last few weeks, and I don't agree with Gary Neville everything he says. Probably the only thing I do agree with is I do think we'll come back, and it might not even be Ten Hag, but I think we're too big for us to disappear. We're not built on oil money or maybe an owner who may get sanctioned or not. We are built through our success on the pitch, and that's why we are the biggest clubs in the country. So look, it's not a nice where we are at the moment, but it can always change. But right now, yes, we're crying out for stability for sure.
Yeah, no, agreed. Before we move on from Manchester United and this really rosy topic, Ten Hag being appointed, Josh, are you, as a Manchester United fan, I guess more from a personal point of view, are you happy that he's been appointed? And also, do you know much about him? Do you think he's a good fit?
Yeah, I think it's the first time post-Fergie that Manchester United have hired a manager that is on the up, that is on someone who is, you would say, is one of the top European coaches outside the Premier League. I think the most important thing for Manchester United is this is the first summer without Ed Woodward. Now, this is someone who's made, done the real damage. When Ferguson stepped down, we lost David Gill as well. Those are two influential people to the football club. We got someone who had no idea about football, was a banker that brokered the deal for the Glazers to get the football club. And this is the most important thing. So the last 18 months or so, United have changed their structure. They've implemented this guy called John Murtagh, who used to work for Everton, and he joined Manchester United, funny enough, when David Moyes came, and now he's director of football. He's working alongside Darren Fletcher, and you're already seeing the moves that he's made, i.e. we never would have brought in someone like Ralph Rangnick if Ed Woodward was still in charge. We probably would have gone for Conte, someone who's quick fix, quick, someone who's just going to give us a title, give us a championship. We lost 5-0 to Liverpool, we lost 2-0 to City, we need to bring Conte. What we've done now, we've kind of streamlined our structure to be able to bring someone like a Ten Hag and give him time. Now, him personally, I think he's the right appointment. I think he's someone that, if you look at our squad, probably minimum 10 players will leave in the summer. So we need a lot of players to come in, but we've also got a young nucleus. You look at someone like Marcus Rashford, he's not that player we've seen in the last 8-9 months. You just don't lose that. Someone like Anthony Martial maybe needs proper coaching. Jadon Sancho, even Hannibal that's come through. There's a lot of good youngsters that we have in our academy, and I think he's able to unlock that. Is he going to bridge the gap from City and Liverpool? We have to wait and see. It's a challenge for him. He's not managed in the Premier League. We've seen the last manager that's come from Ajax, in Frank de Boer, lose the 6 games in a row. I don't think that'll happen, but it's a possibility. And I think a lot of United fans prefer Ten Hag over Pochettino, because Pochettino, we've kind of seen that movie at Spurs and Tottenham. He's kind of coached, he's kind of lived that experience. Whereas Ten Hag, he's won a few titles in Holland. He's going to come over to the Premier League, and even with Thomas Tuchel, you saw the effect he did when Lampard was sacked, and he came in. Not only did he win the Champions League, we're winning a lot of football games quickly. And I think with Ten Hag, it's the right appointment for now, where the club's going off the field, for the profile players we want. Maybe not getting Ronaldo was the right thing. Falcao, Sanchez, all these type, Di Maria, these all Ed Woodward sort of, we need just a name. And I think we are changing. If you look at the last 18 months. So we have to wait and see, give him time. But I'm personally happy with the appointment. I don't think he's our saviour, because I don't believe that there's such thing. I don't think Pep or Klopp comes into for us and wins us a title. We have, fundamental problems. But over time, if it goes well, and if it does, then we're in luck in a couple of years. If it doesn't, we'll just go out and get Pochettino.
Is his style of football kind of like akin to what Manchester United look?
Yeah,
what type of style?
It's attacking football. It's the typical Dutch total football. For most listeners to kind of get an idea of what he's produced. He produced really 2 good Ajax sides in the last few years, and obviously it's funny, Poch knocked him out on away goals in 2019. The season that Liverpool beat Spurs in 2019 in Madrid. He worked under Pep Guardiola. He was the head coach for Bayern Munich's second team before going to Ajax. He actually worked under Steve McLaren also for FC20. So it's very, very on brand for what United want. United fans, will kind of help him when he needs time. It's not going to be sterile football. And also United, Louis van Gaal, brilliant coach in his own right. What he did at Barcelona, Jose Mourinho, of course, you guys know what he's all about. His sides he built in 06, 05. Those are all previous eras of football. Whereas Ten Hag, we're looking forward. His best years ahead of him, and I think that's the key point. His best years ahead of him. Whereas Oli wasn't tried and tested, but Louis van Gaal and Mourinho was. So yeah, we're expecting attacking football coming through. We hope anyway. We can only hope.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think it'll be an interesting one for sure. Looking forward to seeing what he does at the club, and I'm sure the summer will be very, very busy for Manchester United. But yeah, I think to be fair, this has been talked about for ages, the Ten Hag appointment. I feel like you're right. I feel like everyone who supports Manchester United just wants the season to be over so they can get to the summer, get people in and out, and then just start hopefully refreshing. So I'm sure, for Manchester United, really the season's over. It's just whether you guys can somehow nick 4th, which we'll see. Still time. You never know. On to then, I guess, the Champions League semi-finals then. So the big meaty ones. So we can start off with Manchester City and Real Madrid, even. I was about to say Manchester United. That's 2003. Manchester City and Real Madrid. We'll go on that first because obviously, Saf, I'm sure you've got a lot to talk about Liverpool. But Ash, from a neutral point of view, it's a class game. I think we're a little bit still sore, I'm sure, after being knocked out by Real Madrid, but we'll talk about them in a positive light. Benzema, he's in phenomenal form, but Man City surely go into that the favourites.
Yeah, I think they do. I think I personally see it as City's year, and it's a case of where Real Madrid, they're always going to be up for the big games. They've got that experience. They've got a winning mentality. But I think City have just got so much quality, and I think their problem has often been mentality when it comes to the clutch points of games and in the ties. I've often found they'll maybe have a good first leg, but then struggle in the second leg. But I think this year they've got enough quality all over the pitch, and there seems to be an enhanced level of focus and determination to win it. And I think having lost the final last year, which was the furthest they've got, I think they'll have that edge on Real, who to be honest, I thought played well at Stamford Bridge, but really didn't play well at the Bernabeu. And to be honest, I'm not that totally convinced by the Chelsea side that they played against. So the up against what is undoubtedly a quality City side, I'd give the edge to City, even if Benzema's on it. I think across the two legs, I'd back City.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, they stole it from us. They stole it from Modric with his damn ridiculous passing. But yeah, Suf, what about you in terms of the City Real Madrid tie? I mean, what do you look at it? And also from a Liverpool point of view, who do you prefer as well? If you guys win, of course.
If we were to get through, I'd prefer to play Real Madrid. I think City would be the tougher opponent, and we've got some unfinished business with Real from 2018. So my preference would be to play Real Madrid. I think on paper they'd probably be the opponents that most Liverpool fans would want to face. Just looking at that tie, I know Benzema has been in arguably the form of his life, but I thought Madrid got past PSG and PSG really should have sorted that out. Given what the score was, and the kind of the comeback that they made and the mistakes that were made in that game by PSG, and I think it just exposed that some of the gaps that they have in their team. I think if PSG still have Thiago Silva, I don't think that would happen. But it happened. And then against Chelsea, I just thought again they rode their luck a little bit. One could argue is that the luck of a champion, right? To kind of just get through and have that luck throughout the tournament. Maybe, who knows? But still, I'd rather face Real Madrid than City. I just think City have a lot of quality, like Ash was saying, a strong side and a determination to win this competition. I think if you ask Pep at the beginning of the season, and put him on a lie detector and just asked him, what's your priority? I think it would be clear that the Champions League's his priority. He needs to deliver that. It's what the owners want. And I think there's a belief at City that's the last piece of the puzzle to win a Champions League title and to kind of demonstrate that they've reached that elite status in world football, and they've delivered the Champions League. So if we were to face them, I think as well, losing the final the year before, they'd be up for it. We've been there. We lost the final in 2018 and we came through in 2019. And from the get-go in that game, I know we got that early penalty and one could argue about it, but I think we just controlled that game against Tottenham because we came in with that mentality that we had to win that game. We lost it the year before. We're not going to lose finals in back-to-back years. So I think it would be a tougher challenge. So yeah, that's just my perspective on the whole Real Madrid Man City side of things.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I guess City are the favourites unless Pep does something weird. Like I've always go on about it, but it plays someone like Cancelo up front or something, and just something really weird. But I agree with both of you guys on that. I think it's an interesting one in terms of matchups. I guess it'll be Benzema and the centre backs, and are they able to contain them? Because every time the ball came across the box when we played them, I was just like, oh crap! Like I could just see Benzema leaping, and I was like, no, stop! Like, don't head the ball, don't get anywhere near him. So I'm hoping it's an entertaining game, though. I think it will be. Josh, from your point of view, I mean, looking at it, what do you think of the tie? I mean, are we getting ahead of ourselves? Are City that bigger favourites?
No, I think City are the favourites of the whole tournament. On paper, the better teams out of the last four teams. I mean, just slightly ahead of Liverpool, Real Madrid do have a look of a side though who have performed poorly. I think Saf's correct. Where moments, you score 3 goals randomly in a short space of time. It's PSG. Chelsea perform, admirably proper performance away in Spain. Werner's even scoring goals, and then Modric produced one of the best passes of the season. You're sitting there thinking, where's that come from? And statistically, there's not a lot of extra time goals in football, and then he score within the first 5 minutes. And once that goal was produced, Chelsea not going to come back. And even look at the performance at Stamford Bridge. Where's that come from? A few weeks prior they lost to Barcelona in La Liga. So they're a funny team. Think about Man City, their high liners. You can get at them. They can give you. Real Madrid will have chances. It's just about, can Real Madrid keep City out? And I'm not convinced that's the case over 2 legs. Now there's no away goals as well. I think that always suits us, the sides that produce more goals. So yeah, I still think Man City would do it, but I've got this, it's all United fans' worst nightmare. It's a Man City Liverpool kind of final, and it's erring towards that. I mean, everybody, their brains can see that. But I do agree with stuff as well. The Villarreal Liverpool, it could be quite tricky with Unai Emery. And if you think about Real Madrid, Man City, although Man City are clear favourites, you do have that kind of niggling feeling in the back where it wouldn't surprise you if Real Madrid got through, though. It wouldn't surprise you. Then you throw in Pep's kind of tactics where you may pay Gondwan alone as a DM. It's a bit. Your heads say Man City, Liverpool, of course, to progress, and your heads will say Man City. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's one Spanish team in, and if you're gonna back one, you would back Real Madrid. So yeah, I still think City but it's not going to be plain sailing.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think with the high line as well, like Vinicius and Rodrigo, I mean they've got pace to burn. I'm definitely sure that one of them will at least play and getting behind. I mean, I know James had his hands full when we played Real Madrid with Vinicius. I mean, he was just all over the place, and his quality as well. Like, he's improved so much, so young still, but he's developing into a phenomenal talent. So. Yeah, and they've also got experience. Like, a lot of their players have been there and done it. They know how to manage games. I think that's the biggest thing. And as you said, like in the moments. And to be perfectly honest with you, in cup competitions, the best team doesn't always win. I think that is definitely the case. I mean, last year, were Chelsea the best team in the Champions League? Well, probably not. I don't think we were, to be perfectly honest with you. I think if we look at it kind of man for man, in terms of, we weren't really the best team in the competition, but we did what we need to do in the moments. And I feel like Real Madrid are doing that at the moment, so maybe it could be the case, but we'll see. It'll be really interesting. Villarreal, Liverpool. Saf, I'll go to you first. I mean, you were talking about how Villarreal, well-drilled side, etc. But I mean, Liverpool, you guys surely are still confident, though. I mean, with the side you've got, I mean, surely you'll break down Villarreal. I know Unai Emery's very. I know obviously his stint here with Arsenal wasn't as successful as maybe a lot of people would have hoped, but he's a very intelligent manager and he knows how to win football games. It definitely won't be easy, but I think Liverpool, I mean, they've surely got too much.
It's interesting you mentioned Unai. He's got a very good record against Liverpool. He beat us in the final with Sevilla in the Europa League final in Klopp's first season. I look at his period with Arsenal, and I just think that a lot of things were wrong in the club, and I'm talking about the structure of the organization. I think Josh made a reference to how Manchester United have sort of shuffled the pack internally when you think about sort of the operations of the club. And I think United got to a point where they realized something had to change. And Edward, with sort of moving on, gave them that window of opportunity. And I think the experience with Unai, we've seen changes now happen at Arsenal, sort of in the backroom staff and sort of in the hierarchy of the club. And I think Unai suffered as a consequence of that. You look at his win percentage compared to Arteta. I think at one point a couple of weeks ago I looked at it and it was, I think Unai had a slightly better win percentage, and I don't think he was given enough time. So it was kind of like the perfect storm, and it just didn't work out, and that happens. But when you look at his track record with Spanish sides, it's impressive, and I think what he's done with Villarreal and sort of, you look at a player like Danjuma, who I think he was at Bournemouth, wasn't he? And they got relegated, and now he's tearing up the Champions League. Gerard Moreno looks one hell of a player. They've got Chukwueze as well, who's got pace, who's got power, and they've got experienced players like Albiol at the back. He's captain, and even players like Capoue, who was at Spurs and then Watford, and then he seems to be a rejuvenated player. And when I saw him on the pitch against Bayern, I was like, I can't be the same Capoue from Spurs and from Watford. So he's clearly kind of drilled this team, developed some of these players, maybe given them a second wind. Some of these players' careers maybe were just kind of not there, and he's given them a second wind. They're on the back of winning the Europa League last year, doing okay in La Liga, and he's doing exceptionally well with the squad that he's got. I think it will be a tactical battle. I think Liverpool, we have the quality, and I think that quality should see us go through. But in the Champions League, you can't rule anything out. I look at it in a similar way to kind of when we played Roma in 2018. We had kind of, a lot of Liverpool fans have thought, oh, we should get through. We've got the momentum. We've just gone past City, so we should get past Roma. And in the first leg, Salah did an exceptional job at Anfield and scored quite a few goals. And then they scored this late goal. And then we went to Rome, and it was tight. It wasn't as easy as we thought it would be. So yeah, I do think a lot of Liverpool fans are confident, but and yet technically on paper we've got the squad and we should have the quality to get through and to break them down. But Unai is not. He's not a novice. He's an experienced manager, proven at in European competitions, and I think he'll make it very difficult for us. First leg at Anfield will be interesting. If we can get away with a solid win, try not to concede any goals, and then go away and try and play, do one of our typical Jurgen Klopp away performances, then we should be okay. But that first leg at Anfield will tell the story.
Well, with the crowd behind you and being at home first, then no excuses. That's it. Got the job done. To be fair, I've been to Anfield. I know what the crowd's like. I mean, come on, get behind them. Ash, what do you think? I mean, have you seen much of Villarreal? I mean, and do you think they pose much of a threat?
I think they will. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Emery in a European, at the depth of a European competition, and he has a phenomenal record. So I think he'll be really up for it. His team will be massively up for it. I think as mentioned before, it's a case where when it gets to these stages of the competition, it means so much to the players that they'll perform beyond expectation, I think, and having seen Villarreal play, not frequently, but I saw them play in the Europa League final and then the Super Cup. They played really well against Chelsea and could have easily won that. Went down to penalties. I think they will definitely cause problems. But again, kind of on the flip side, you've got Liverpool in the Champions League is always a big threat. And that's kind of, if I put my Chelsea hat on and think like one team that I don't want to play against on a European night in one stadium is Liverpool at Anfield. And that the fact that that's the first leg, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool kill off the tie in the first leg. They're capable of just blitzing teams and scoring 3 in 10 minutes and something like that. And I think it could be a case where Villarreal are in the game and then suddenly it's just snatched from them like that. So it remains to be seen. I think if Villarreal can kind of hang in there until sort of the 60th, 70th minute, and maybe, even if they do lose the first leg, but kind of keep sort of Liverpool out for the most part, then anything could happen in the second leg. But a bit like we said with City and Real Madrid, I just think that quality in every area of the pitch that Liverpool have will be enough to get them through. I mean, I'm a big fan of Thiago as a player, and even though Liverpool are rivals, a little bit disappointed with how he was playing at the start of his Liverpool career. But now it's quite good to see he's finally really showing his stuff. And when he's on form, he's just a joy to watch. He can do it all, and like we mentioned, the short passing, but he's also got a fabulous long range switch of play. And with him on that sort of form, and then the plethora of attacking options that Liverpool have, I think you'd be taking a big gamble not to back Liverpool.
Yeah, I think the early goal is really crucial as well. I think if Liverpool get an early goal, then it's kind of like floodgates open. But if Villarreal can stop them and then takes the second half, deep in second half, then it's like, oh, okay, what's going on here? So you just never know. Josh, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree with what the guys say there. I think it's the advantage Liverpool. I think going to Anfield for a second, it would have been daunting. You know, you can imagine getting a 1-1 at home, or even maybe turn Liverpool over 2-1. You have to go to Anfield. Yeah, it's not looking good. So I think either they'll lose, as I said, 1-0 or 2-1. That's a good result to take back to semi-final. Performances are going to be raised. And I think also for the Spanish sides, a real boost for them is that Liverpool and Man City can't afford to take the eye off the league because they're both going for it. And Liverpool played Newcastle at 12:30 on the Saturday after, which is a real kind of... And Klopp's really moaned about that. They play on the Wednesday and they play Saturday afternoon, and that's going to be tricky. Yeah, Liverpool have a squad. We keep talking about how Diaz has come in, but it was once upon a time, very soon, a year ago, Liverpool struggled with depth. And Newcastle playing brilliantly in the league at the moment, and that's why the quadruple. It's not because Liverpool are not good; it's because of those schedules and those games. Whereas Villarreal and Real Madrid, they can rest, and I think Villarreal did that, didn't they? They rested the whole team, including the goalkeeper, I think, before the game against Bayern, and they'll do that again. So that's one thing to look out for, I think, also for the two ties. But in terms of that, I still see Liverpool comfortably doing the job at Anfield. Doing what they did against United in getting a couple goals. It's just too many opportunities they create for Mane, Salah, and Diaz and Jota. It's just too many now. And now you've got someone like Thiago working. They've actually got a maestro, and you're forgetting that their back four is so solid. Konate comes in, replaces Matip. He gets a few goals, but then he's solid. Trent, for all his defensive flaws, he's such a defensive threat. Robertson's a good left back, and Fabinho is a solid defensive mid. There's no weaknesses there. It's 180 minutes. You've got to win. You can maybe beat Liverpool over 90, but if you're at a point where your quality is lacking and they've got high quality, and it's why City are impressive, I think, because I think they've been raised by a strong Liverpool team, and they just keep doing it. They keep grinding results. They keep not faltering. Yeah, they lost at Wembley, but 2 weeks ago, they should have won the game at the Etihad. But yeah, I expect nothing more than Liverpool win, regardless of Emery's. I hope I'm wrong, obviously, but I can't see how Liverpool don't. Obviously, I'm just jinxing this. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm serious, but I can't see nothing but a Liverpool victory, 110%.
10-0 Liverpool.
100. But that Saturday, but I do think we saw it with even Man City on the weekend. They made a few changes in the FA Cup because they went so hard in the Atletico Madrid game. Whereas Liverpool made a few changes for the Benfica game because they'd done the job in Portugal. I don't know if Liverpool have to know what the situation is going to be on Sunday against Everton. That's going to play a factor in definitely who wins the title and maybe in these Champions League ties, 110%. Especially because Newcastle, they're the kind of the poorer teams you want to they're the worst teams you want to face really because you've got nothing to play for. So they will make it difficult for Liverpool that day. But yeah, as I said, I expect Liverpool to beat Villarreal comfortably at Anfield, and that'll be enough, and they'll do the job like they did in 2018 against Roma. So yeah.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, agreed. I think it's tracking towards the Liverpool City final, but you just never know.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you just never know though. It's just I mean, how many times have we seen there's so many opportunities where 1 year it could be Real Madrid Barcelona, and then there's Real Madrid Atletico in the final because Atletico just did a number on Barca, and then there's just so many different, as Ash has said as well, that in the Champions League you can just have one team who has an inspired performance on the night, and their home crowds behind them, and they just are able to get a result that no one was expecting. So yeah, we'll see. Really exciting though. I'm really looking forward to those 2 games actually as well this week. But yeah, is there anything that you guys want to touch upon as well, topic wise, that we haven't touched upon?
Maybe race for top 4. Who do you fancy to get it? Because that was a massive. Obviously, we don't have any Arsenal supporters here, but that was a massive win for Arsenal, considering they lost the last 3 games.
Yeah.
They will go to Stamford Bridge. I think that's the first time, I don't know in Premier League history, but the first time they've beaten Chelsea back-to-back at the Bridge for a number of years.
Yeah.
And no one have given them a chance after Southampton. And obviously, they play United on Saturday. If they were to get a result there, would you put them as favourites? Or...
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think with goal difference, Tottenham are still quite ahead, but they've still got Liverpool to play, haven't they?
Tottenham play Liverpool, second day last week of the season. Yeah.
So I don't know whether it'll be still in play at that point, but I'd imagine it might be. But I mean, you talk about those 2, but if Manchester United beat Arsenal, then they're
no.
Josh doesn't want to jinx.
No, I just don't believe. You know, a team that can't beat Leicester and Everton doesn't deserve to be in top 4. You know, Everton have got 1 win, and how many? That was against us. Look at that Norwich game again. It was Ronaldo, brilliance. It was individual brilliance. If the players wanted that fight, they would have tried their best, tried at least to compete against Liverpool. Yeah, we might beat Arsenal, but are we going to beat you guys next Thursday? I don't think so. Shut in. I don't think so. I don't put United there all by name, but we won't finish top 4. I don't think so.
I'll go with Tottenham. I believe in Conte and his rejuvenation of the team. But Ash and stuff, what are your thoughts?
If I was to put a bet on now, I'd probably back Tottenham. I just think, like you, Conte is probably squeezing as much as he can out of that team, and I think on their day that sort of Son Kane partnership can win you games. And so I would probably back Tottenham. I think Arsenal may just miss out by a point or 2 because there's not that much in it. United maybe another point or 2 behind. But yeah, I'm going Tottenham.
Ash?
Yeah, I think it's even though Arsenal played so well yesterday, I think it's very hard to back them in any sort of crunch moment. So I'd hand it to Tottenham. But I think the North London derby would be huge. Be absolutely massive, and probably who wins that. I mean, I say who wins that will probably go on to win it, but knowing these sort of teams, they're red hot one day and then absolutely woeful the next day. So I think it will go down to the wire. But on your point, Josh, about Man U Chelsea, to be honest, I can see Man U win it because we are charity FC at the moment. Whenever you need a win, if you're on a torrid run of form, Chelsea are there, ready to hand you the 3 points. So I still think there'll be a few twists and turns, but I'd probably give the edge to Tottenham. Part of me wants to see Arsenal make it just because they've been through so many years of suffering, and they finally have a team that they believe in. And as a Chelsea fan, Tottenham or Arsenal, I mean, it's pick your poison. So maybe Eddie Nketiah will go on an absolute run now and lead Arsenal to top 4. But we'll see.
Yeah, who knows? This is I think I don't know. I know Josh doesn't believe. I wouldn't even be surprised if Manchester United are there or thereabouts.
I think if United get a result against Arsenal, then because we'll be level with Arsenal and we'll be 3 points behind Spurs, I think, and knowing that Arsenal Spurs play each other, and of course Spurs go to Liverpool, I just don't think these players care. But if we really wanted to turn up this season, we'd be in the top 4 comfortably right now. We'd be 3 points behind Chelsea. We've had so many games where Arsenal and Tottenham have lost and drawn. Tottenham have lost 3 in a row. Arsenal have lost 3 in a row. We could have beaten Leicester. We could have beaten Everton. We could have beaten Burnley. 100 of draws, since Ragnick's come in. I just don't think the players care. So I think it'd be interesting to see what happens at Arsenal. Yeah, we'll beat Arsenal. Maybe we can beat Chelsea. Then it gets interesting. But they haven't got the fight. That's the most depressing thing. I think you look at Arsenal, Spurs. They bought into their respective managers. All right, they're permanent, but ours they don't, and they're really thinking about their other clubs and their next move. So yeah, I'm not confident, as you can tell.
Mate, David De Gea captain is what I say.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't really know who else you make captain, to be fair, apart from Harry. Harry Maguire's not the one for me, captain wise anyway. But yeah, is it Ash stuff as well, and Josh, any other topics before we wrap up?
Nothing springs to mind, actually. I'd be keen to hear Josh's thoughts on who he thinks might stick around, and who he thinks might leave. I mean, Matic has already said he's on his way out, but be keen to hear how many players you think might leave this summer.
Leave?
Yeah.
I think 15, because there's around 6 who leave on a free contract automatically. So I think it's Matic, Cavani, Mata. I think Paul Pogba will leave. I think that's it. Obviously, Mason Greenwood, obviously with his issues and off the field, he won't return to the squad. We have lost a body there, which has affected us a little bit in terms of just having a body there. At times, Ronaldo's had to play every game, and Cavani's been on holiday and being injured. So I think he'll go. Cavani, and then you have players. Yes, Matic will go. Then you probably look at someone like Eric Bailly, those ilk of players, Wan-Bissaka potentially. I think one of the keepers will go as well, Henderson. But he apparently Ten Hag is a fan of a sweeper keeper, but something that a lot of United fans have criticised De Gea for not coming up off his line, not being physical in the penalty box. Ronaldo's an interesting one. Where does he go? It's easy to say he'll leave Manchester United, but who's paying him on that wages? Is he really going to go to PSG and join Messi, who's really suffered in France? Looks like Mbappe may stay. In terms of who stays, obviously, I think Sancho will. I think Alanga will. I think Rashford will. I mean, his contract, he's still got another 2 years left. I think Luke Shaw and Maguire do stay. I don't think he's going to buy Maguire for that amount of money. Even someone like Martial, he's on so many wages. It's so much. He's on 220 grand. So, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot there. I would personally only keep Sancho and Varane because they just come in last summer. I've seen them with all the other players play now. For it's a real problem for United. I think Chelsea do this really well. You either loan players or Marina gets them out straight away. We've had Matic since 2017. We've had Eric Bailly since 2016. De Gea's now been there for 11, 12 years. I mean, I forgot the main guy, Phil Jones, has been there since I was in secondary school. And I'm not going to come here and jump on the bandwagon and criticise Phil Jones because he's had his injuries. And at once upon a time, he was performing for United under Fergie, which most players were doing. But why is he still at the club? Why was he given a new contract in 2019? These are why we are behind.
I probably forgot he was in the squad. I forgot he was even at Man United until he was in the side.
And that's the problem. That's why we're behind these teams. A lot of it's recruitment. You could look at managers and say Oli did this and Louis van Gaal did that, Mourinho, but we just don't get rid of players. The fact that we have 7 players leaving on a free contract, including Lee Grant, is an embarrassment for a top level football club. 6, 7. So Ten Hag can be in trouble if he doesn't get back just because there's no quality. We're not going to be the team that started the season with, all these star names that can't gel. We're going to be a team that maybe just has Sancho and half-baked Rashford. So, yeah, it's a mammoth job that Ten Hag's got because of those departures. But for me, as a United fan, I find it exciting because we can just get rid of the deadwood, and that's something we've not been able to do. We can literally say, okay, bye. Now, I would personally keep someone like Paul Pogba. I'd keep certain other players, but it's time to start fresh. We have a new manager. We've got a new structure. It's done. It's really done. And even if someone like Marcus Rashford has to go, let him go. We were told last couple of years that Lukaku, why do United get rid of Lukaku? And of course, he got loads of goals at Inter. He's come to the Premier League and now he sits at the bench. Players will leave and go. It doesn't matter. I think, Klopp did it once, Salah or Mane. He wanted Brand, he wanted Goetze. Oh, well, does the Liverpool fans want Goetze and Brandt now? No, they don't. So that's the thing with football. I think you can't be too emotional with players. You support a club, and sometimes you do get too emotional with them and wanting people to stay. But so if I can't really answer your question, there's so many outgoings and ingoings to come. I can't really, But I don't think any player whose contract's running out will re-sign. there might have been a little bit of hope for Pogba, I think, but after the weekend of the boos, it's best that both parties just move on. I think he's a symbol of also, the kind of bad times at United, and the blame's at both sides for the club and himself. He hasn't performed, and the same with Maguire, but Maguire's no one's going to buy him. He's not Paul Pogba, so we're stuck with him. So that's the problem. So yeah, loads of outgoings, but I think it's exciting. I think that's what excites United fans the most, is that it's not going to be he comes in, he's going to work with these group of players. I think it's a bit naive in what we're reading and listening about. The players don't like these players. Not going to be there other than Bruno Fernandes, Sancho and Varane, because Bruno signed a new contract. He could just everybody can go, or at least Lindelof may stay. But it's not going to be not many players from Anfield or this season will be there. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
it's a reboot.
Yeah. Finally,
yeah, it's a refresh. Yeah. Would you keep Ronaldo, Josh?
I would for one season, because I think we will sign another striker. But I'm intrigued to see him under Ten Hag system. I know it's the Dutch league, so everything comes with an asterisk with the Dutch league. But if you look at someone like Sebastian Haller, the amount of goals he scored under Ten Hag. I mean, Ronaldo. He at times you looked at him and thought, oh, why has he come back? He's struggling, but he's got the same amount of goals as Jota, and everybody keeps talking how great Jota is. I think only Salah and Son, or maybe one other player, scored more goals than him. He's now one goal away from 100 Premier League goals. He's been phenomenal. Yeah, he scored goals in Sprouts, but he's got 2 Premier League hat-tricks. He's got hat-tricks in his top 6 sides in Spurs, and he's still quality. He's one of the best players to ever live. Why not? Why not keep it for 1 year? Why not? I think if you're changing everything around him, what harm can it be? What harm? And I think it's challenging for Ten Hag to come and work under someone like that. If he just pushes him aside, and maybe he's not got the appetite to work with these big personalities, because eventually you will have big personalities coming in.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Mo Salah wasn't a big personality, say, a couple of years back, but now he's got a bit of power because he's playing well, and now he wants a certain amount of money to play for Liverpool. Because Ronaldo now is a personality, maybe Jadon Sancho might be that. So I don't think you should come in and just say, you know what, we need to just move on. I think there's use for Ronaldo. We've seen that this year. At times he's been a problem, but at the times he's been a solution. So I would keep Ronaldo for 1 year. But if he went, I wouldn't care, because I have no emotion other than Sancho Varane, because they're new here, and that's how I feel. But I wouldn't be against him staying. I don't think that's detrimental. We need depth. You can't get rid of everybody. That's the problem as well.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, he's phenomenal. We had a discussion on this in one of the previous pods, and I was just saying that I just never understand this whole he's the reason why the team aren't playing well and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, he's banging goals. He's one of the only players that's actually playing well. I mean, I don't understand how you can say he's the problem. I can't believe the kind of arguments behind it. So it's just really, really bizarre. But yeah, I think in terms of Man United, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think they'll get rid of as many players as you want, Josh, because it's impossible. But they will get through it a lot.
You don't think, even with all the contracts that are going, because
I think it's just so hard. But the issue is, right, say if 15, 20 players go, how are you going to bring in 15, 20 players?
No, that's the challenge. That's the
problem. You can't do it in one transfer.
Right. You're right. I think you're correct. But that's been the big issue as well. Is we went out of the League Cup very early on, and we lost to young boys in the Champions League, and we couldn't rotate. So you had people like Jesse Lingard on the bench, Donny van de Beek, who need games, and it's caused problems in the dressing room. But I do agree with you. I think we can't get rid of everybody, but a good enough chunk will leave. I think the 15, 20 people will leave, but it will be. I reckon it'll be over 2-3 transfer windows. I think it'll be when you're kind of filtering people out every transfer window, they're getting people in, and then the club are happy, and then they don't have to spend it all in one go. They can kind of spread it over, the summer, and then January, and then another summer. I think that kind of year cycle, and then you'll be happy. And I feel like he'll have the team that he wants. I think Klopp had a similar thing. He had to kind of do that as well. He kind of had to, for about a year or so, he had to kind of just cycle people out, and then because it's just impossible, it's not Football Manager, I guess. where you just chuck everyone out. It'll be great. In an ideal world, you just do it right, and it's a literal clean slate where you can just go say, you know what, get rid of everyone and just let's just bring everyone in, and it's great. But the problem is a lot of those players are going for free as well. That's the issue as well. Yeah, right? I agree with you. I think the wage bill, though, one matter. the amount of money they're on, or someone like even
Yeah.
if you remove even the people that are leaving on a free, so someone like Paul Pogba, if you look at players like Martial, Bailly, who may want to leave, already a fullback, a goalkeeper, so you're looking at 5 sales there already, with the 6 going, and then maybe Ronaldo is a question mark as well. You know, so that's even more higher as well. So I think there'll be at least 10, but just on those numbers. And someone like Phil Jones, who has another year left in his contract, he'll go. So there'll be a lot of Deadwood going, which is pleasing. But it's who we bring in as well. You have to match that quality. You'd hope anyway, but it's going to take time. Fortunately, I've got a question for you guys, the Chelsea supporters. Are you? I wouldn't say worried about Tuchel, but Chelsea have had big promise this year to compete, to definitely win a trophy. After buying Lukaku for big money, you won the European Cup. I think you got more points than anyone else as soon as you came in outside Man City. I think at the moment, are you a bit disappointed how the season span? And moving forward, you look at the changes at United. We know Liverpool, City, West, and then will stay at a top level. Spurs will spend money at Conte. We won't be there. Are you a bit worried that he's not been able to put Lukaku into the team? And you're having these little performances against Brentford. You had a dodgy December, January, where you're not really kicking on, because at the beginning of the season, it was like Tuchel's the guy to challenge Klopp and Pep. But at the moment, you're just third in the league, and it's kind of like you're waiting for the piranhas behind you to come get you. I think he's done a marvellous job alongside the sanctions. That's the backdrop of that. I think he's done brilliantly. But what is Tuchel life at Chelsea really? What does it look like for you guys moving forward? Because he's won the Champions League, but he's either going to bring you the league again.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'll go to you after, if that's okay. But yeah, I think with Chelsea, I think I don't know. I think with us, the priority isn't really the Champions League. Obviously, we've got. I think if you were to ask Pep, like, okay, you can either win the treble with, the FA Cup and League Cup and the Prem, or you can just win the Champions League. I think he'd just say, I won the Champions League. I think if you give him a lie detector, he'll say, I'd rather just win the Champions League on its own. But with Tuchel, it's an interesting one, because I think he's obviously found a system that he likes. He likes playing with 3 at the back, which I've never been a massive fan of, but I think obviously it's working. And then we had a lot of success under Conte a few years ago on that system as well. And someone like Alonso, when Chilwell's been injured, he's managed to flourish under there as well. But the Lukaku issue is, it is disappointing. I think when he came in, Lukaku, and then he was scoring goals right at the start, I just thought, okay, great. I know he got injured, and I get that. And I know Tuchel's made a big point to say, like, oh, you're injured, he's not really fit, and like basically saying that he's not fit enough, he's not match fit, and he's just like, it's taking him a long time to recover from the injury, etc. I think obviously that hasn't helped that Havertz's form has suddenly kind of skyrocketed, so it's coincided at the same time. But in saying that, like, he's managed to play Havertz and Werner together. So what's to say that he can't play Lukaku and Havertz, Lukaku and Werner? So I think it is possible. He's played it as a 2 at Inter Milan as well with Martinez. So like in a very, very similar system. So I think the issue that Tuchel has is that he wants to play either one of Havertz and Lukaku, and Havertz is his man. Like, he's his main man. I don't think he wants to play them both together. I think he did say that he just needs. I had an interview with him, and he said that Lukaku just needs a couple of moments where, like, he basically scores goals or is good form. I guess like how Werner's had recently, and then great, okay, he's back. But then my question to Tuchel would be, okay, if he does that, great, but where does he fit in? Because it kind of feels like the team that Tuchel's putting together at the moment, there isn't room for Lukaku to start anyway. I feel like he's someone who, okay, he's in there to rotate, but he's not his first choice, which is a shame, because he's bought for a lot of money and he is a natural goal scorer. I'm also not a massive believer in that his first touch is really poor. I think it has been in the past, but I think it's much improved, and I think he's more than good enough. And if he's got service, he'll score goals. But I know he went through a bit of a drought, and that was because he was making a lot of good runs, but he had absolutely zero service for large parts where Chelsea was struggling. So, disappointing, I think, but we'll see. I don't think Lukaku's going to get a big run of games. I just have a feeling whilst Tuchel's there, I can't see Lukaku particularly flourishing. But then in saying that, not many strikers have flourished at Chelsea. We had a discussion before one of the previous pods. We just seem to burn world-class strikers. Ash, what are your thoughts?
I'm not ultimately too disappointed with this season. I think that it very easily could have been that we won the League Cup final. I think we probably edged it, even though it was a close game. That could have gone to us. We could easily still be in the Champions League, having taken the lead against Real. And if that was the case, you'd be looking at the season completely differently. If you add the Super Cup and the Club World Cup, that was a big deal for us actually winning the Club World Cup, because we've not done it before, and that sort of complete the set. So it really could have gone another way, and I think we've been unlucky in terms of injuries, and it has been a case of in our midfield, Jorginho may be fit, but then Kovacic is injured, or Kante's injured, and then Kovacic is fit, but Jorginho is injured, and we just lack that stability that you really need to maintain a consistent title charge for the season. But I've probably not backed a manager as much as I have Tuchel for a long time. I really think he's the guy. He just, the way he commands himself, what he demands from his players. I just really rate him as a manager. But I think the key will be in the summer, we have to get our recruitment right. If Rudiger leaves, that's going to be a big loss. Thiago Silva's not getting any younger. Yeah, as much as he's an amazing centre back, there's really not much left in the tank, I don't think. So this summer really is on a knife edge. It could go one way, and we could really sort of fall behind Liverpool and City. Or with some good recruitment, I think we can get back up there, because, as I said, I really think Tuchel's the man. And I think with a good summer, we may have a chance next season. I think that's the thing. Chelsea's ability to relentlessly win trophies, FA Cups, Champions Leagues, Europa Leagues, covers up the fact that actually we haven't had a side that's been able to consistently perform for about 5 years, since Conte's side in 2017, which won the league. I think that's papered over quite a lot of cracks. But with Tuchel as manager, good recruitment in the summer, whether that means selling Lukaku and getting someone else in, or giving Lukaku another chance, I'm not too sure. I think we've got a good chance, especially with the young players we do have. I think Reece James, Mount, Havertz, they're all only going to get better. We've got some great players out on loan currently. Gallagher. There's a guy called Levi Colville at Huddersfield in the Championships who's had sort of a Reece James and Wigan sort of season. He's a centre back. I think he could be in the starting lineup next season. I think Tuchel rates him. So I think it all hinges on the summer. A good summer, and we could be making a serious title charge. But an average to bad summer, I think we could be in trouble.
Yeah, I think if we lose Rudiger, we're screwed. To say it lightly, to be fair, he's influential. I think it'll be a nightmare if we don't somehow manage to sort that out. But yeah, but I agree. I think Tuchel is. I think we will make a run at the Premier League. I think I'm a little bit disappointed more in terms of the fact that I think we had the side to challenge, but we kind of just fell away pretty quickly. But yeah, Tuchel, I think, is definitely, he's got drive. You can see in determination. I think, but I agree with Ash about recruitment. I think I'm not 100% sure what we exactly need, but we need to start looking at, Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta as well. Like, he's a massive player, but he's coming towards the back end now. We've got a lot of young players in there, so they'll only get better for sure. I've been quite happy with Loftus-Cheek recently as well. I'm happy that he's actually playing. I think he's got the skill set, but he just needs to apply himself. So we'll see. Sorry
to cut you off, but do you think with all the off the field issues at Chelsea, can you have a strong summer? Because After the license ends in May, the club is is sanctioned, can't do anything, can't renew contracts, of course, until that sale is been processed and approved. And who's that owner? Even as today, we saw a new consortium, likes of Lewis Hamilton and Serena Williams.
Yeah, I was going to say
yeah. So I think Chelsea will lean on a lot of your youth players. But just two questions. Yeah, are you worried about that as well? Of course, in the summer, that will be a big issue for not having the summer that you guys want. I've lost my train of thought now. I've lost it. I'll come back to me. Ask the question.
The youth players is like, I actually love the season where Lampard, we had we weren't able to buy anyone. So then we were banned for a year, and I just thought it was great. And that's where Tammy Abraham obviously broke through. I know he's not at the side anymore, but he's doing well at Roma. Mason Mount, obviously. I mean, look, he's a sure thing now on the side. He's influential. And, I think... Yeah, I think for me, it's not a bad thing. We've got a really good youth system in place. Our youth sides always do really well. And I think sometimes they don't get a great look in some of the players. So I don't see why it would be terrible for the side, for the club. But I do also think that obviously making a run in the Premier League specifically, I don't think it helps those chances most likely. Because we've already got some young players on the side and we need that experience in there, especially if we're going to lose some players, which I think we may lose. For example, someone like a Rudiger, bringing in another youngster into the side, probably, it's not really going to help over the course of the season. I think, yes, it's great for us longer term, but if we're thinking about just the season next year, we need to strengthen the side, I think, with a couple of transfers. Yes, we still need to kind of, blood some not the best at doing. I think the cup competitions definitely we need to do it, but that's my thoughts on it. Ash, what's yours?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely still that uncertainty about what actually the club will look like in come summer and come the start of next season. So kind of dealing with a lot of if buts and maybes. But I'd say Chelsea almost thrives under chaos and uncertainty in a way, because there seems to be a winning mentality across the club. And perhaps that might change with ownership. But I think if we retain that, and as long as the owners are willing to back the club, okay, maybe not to the same extent as Abramovich, but fundamentally concerned with improving the squad, improving the stadium, improving the whole structure of the club. We've got a great women's team, great academy, making sure that remains a strong aspect of the club. I think I'm still quite confident that it won't really be a massive turning point, really, and actually in Chelsea as a whole. It remains to be seen. Got my fingers crossed that whoever it is that comes in is committed to making the right decisions for the club and for the fans, who at the end of the day, they just want to see their team winning football matches, winning trophies. I'm still hopeful for the summer and beyond. But we'll see which direction we go in.
Yeah, and Saf sitting there really smug, like his football club is all sorted. No transfer embargoes, no new managers. Just talk with the quadruples. So,
what's funny? It's at the beginning of the season. I remember, listening to a few of the pundits, and the general consensus was that Liverpool starting 11 was arguably the best in the league, but that we lacked the squad to compete on multiple fronts. And when the season started, and then Thiago got injured, and I remember Henderson was having some injury issues, and Firmino was out for a little bit, and then the squad looked pretty bare bones. And then around, just after the AFCON, all these players came back, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Wow!" And we signed Diaz, and then Konate was showing what a beast he was, power, pace, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Wow, Liverpool have a squad." And when you really think about it, the only additions really are Diaz and Konate, and yes, they're players that can start games for us. But it's astonishing how that narrative has shifted at the beginning of the season, where people were saying City and Chelsea have deeper squads, far better squads than Liverpool, and now everyone's turning and now looking and saying, well, Liverpool is set, right? And whereas there's question marks around Man City's squad because they've got a few injuries and now they're playing some of their youth players. I looked at their squad when we played them at the Etihad, and they had 2 or 3 players that I'd never heard of before. That clearly came from their under 23s or whatever it was. So it just goes to show you that maybe 2 or 3 injuries, or if you have a 4th injury, and all of a sudden it just changes. I mean, you saw what happened with us last season. Van Dijk, Matip, Gomez injured, and it fell apart. The system was broken essentially, because if you take Fabinho and Henderson and put them in centre backs, then your midfield is just completely gone. So yeah, I mean, these big squads, they look fantastic and everything, but 2-3 injuries and you could be really fragile. I mean, I dread to think what would happen to us if Alisson got injured. I know, we've got that young Irish boy who's done really well, Kevon Kelleher, but without Alisson, I just see him as the best one-on-one keeper. Like one-on-one, I think Alisson makes phenomenal saves for us. So if he got injured, what would that mean for us? Would we, would we draw or lose a couple of games? Possibly. And then there's the one that obviously freaks us all out, which is Van Dijk. Can he stay fit? If he gets injured, what happens? Because it could all go pear-shaped. So yeah, but it was just an interesting kind of point that I noticed how that narrative changed over the course of the season. And then after AFCON, everyone was just like, "Oh, they've signed Diaz, Thiago's back, Henderson and Firmino are both fit again." And all of a sudden, everyone's like now we've had games where the Ox, Origi, and Minamino can't even get into the matchday squad, and that was unheard of last season, or even a couple of months ago. It was unheard of. Even like Harvey Elliott, who did really well at the beginning of the season, can't even get into a matchday squad now. So yeah, it's interesting. I think with Chelsea, I think 1 or 2 signings, and you guys could look awesome for next season. And it can change really quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing is, you guys need a centre back and then someone to cover, right, for the 3 up top, and then obviously you got Jota before, but then I think like Diaz and Konate just was like, yeah, this is it.
I just need Bellingham now, and we're sorted. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for a lot, right?
Greedy boy.
It's just the Ox is I think he's going to be on his way out. He hasn't really played, and and I think Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott need time. And I just look at Bellingham, and he's just got so much in his locker. He reminds me of Gerrard. Like he's like an 8, 9 out of 10 in multiple areas. And that's the type of player you want. Someone who's box to box who can do lots of things.
That's the Liverpool dream. Find the Steven Gerrard replacement.
Yeah, exactly. We've been looking for the best part of 6-7 years. I haven't found anyone, but
do you remember when they thought it'd be Henderson? He's not. Oh, Henderson's a really good player in his own right, but as in like, he's never going to.
Henderson's a good player. He's a leader. But I just don't think he has the same level of technical ability that Gerrard had.
He's won more than Gerrard. Let's not forget.
He has. Yeah, that's the thing. It just goes to show, right? But then again, Henderson had he had Klopp, and he had a phenomenal team around him.
On that note, I think it's a good note to wrap it up. But yeah, thanks guys for being on. Do appreciate it. Ash, Saf, and also Josh as well. Great to have you on. Of course, do check out Josh actually on Twitter as well. I'm sure you can see some of his commentary on there, and I'm sure you'll hear him on BBC or Talk Sport. And if you want to hear myself, Ash, and Saf more, then you can just subscribe to the channel and follow us on the podcast. You can hear us on there because we're not on. These are the airwaves that we're on at the moment. But yeah, I really do appreciate it, guys. If you're listening on a podcast platform, then obviously do leave a review, rate the podcast as well. If you don't mind, does help us out. And if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment as well. Let us know your thoughts as well on, who you think is going to win Champions League semi-finals, and of course the race for top 4 and all other topics, whatever you like. Thanks very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you on the next video.